What's this theme? This is from Tron, isn't it?
Yeah, it's from Tron. It's like
1980 something, right?
82.
82.
The beginning of the 80s.
And there we are with the most awful animation ever.
Yeah, didn't you see that? Can you do that again? No, you can't.
I never look like that. Okay, so...
You never looked like that either.
No, never did. We're going to MacGyver this RxJS thing.
Yeah.
First, we're going to cover observable anxiety, which is afflicting many of you, many of us, me. And then, because this is really a talk about Angular and RxJS rather than RxJS sitting all by itself, we're going to look at the key APIs in Angular that use RxJS and see, sort of learn RxJS by way of Angular rather than watching counters and bouncing balls. And then somewhere at the end, if we get there and we're fast, we're going to have a little bit of fun with RxJS itself in the context of Angular.
Everything in Rx is fun and easy going. Oh, you're talking about...
So this is easy. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. There's just a few operators out there. So I pity the fool that don't learn them all. I pity the fool. You remember this guy, Mr. T? Anyway, there's a cure for operator anxiety, which some of us have, and it begins with stop worrying, which is about as good advice as keep your eye on the ball.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But really, just use the operators you know and let go of what you don't know. And when you get stuck, you can always code imperatively in the subscribe method. And we're going to show you the subscribe method. And when everything else fails you, just do it there. I mean, really, don't be a hero. Don't be an RxJS hero. And then there's this cool link called which operator do I use? And if I click this thing, it'll bring it up. And what this is a... what do they call those trees? Decision tree.
Decision graph.
Yeah, so you figure out what you want to do, and then you keep working your way right until you find the method that you're interested in. And that is enormously helpful. So anyway, these are our steps for sort of taming the anxiety, and then you just go about learning the new operator at your leisure.
Yeah, take one operator at a time.
Exactly. So there are 4 major APIs in Angular that use RxJS, and so whether you want to, even if you didn't want to learn RxJS, you're going to face them, so you might as well face into it. And we have a boatload of examples to help guide you through that, and we're going to do that right now with the help of David Hasselhoff.
We're going to drive right in.
We're going to drive right into it. So here is the samples. This doesn't look very helpful. Oh, there, I click a button, and suddenly I have a panoply of buttons here, each doing different examples. So we'll try that one. How about that? It gets and subscribes.
That's a nice list of films. That are your favorites, aren't they?
I don't know how you got Star Wars into one of my presentations, but you figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I had a bet with John.
So this is the service behind it, and you can see that we get, that's HTTP, there's a get method, and the net result is this observable of root movies. Now, root movies is what the API gives us. Usually when you're talking to something, you have no control over the API, and this is one of those cases, so we got to kind of take what they give us, and it's like it gets a count and a next and all that other stuff. And
yeah, they give us a lot of things. We don't need it. We don't need much.
But that's what it's going to give us back, so we got to deal with it.
That's what it is.
Yep. So we get it, and now we got to consume it in the component. So it helps if I
simple films. Yep.
Simple films component.
Yep, that's the one.
And that's pretty simple. Let film of films, film title. We've seen that before. We inject the film service. We get data. What does that do? There it is. Subscribe. All right, so you know this. You get the data back, the first callback in subscribe. It's just like then. The first callback is the good stuff. It comes back. Now you assign you pluck the results out of the data object and you assign it to the films array, and then it goes and you get a presentation. No problem.
All right, but this is a boring list. Can we do something exciting?
Well, we could try adding.
We should make a new movie.
Let's, yeah, we should be able to do that. So let's go to 2.
I think
version 2.
Yeah, that's after 1.
This is the same thing, except it's got a an add movie, which also returns an observable of something, and it uses an HTTP post, which is kind of what you do when you add something. And if we look at how that's consumed, we'll go to the component 2, which should be here. Let's just start typing until we see it. Simple Films component 2. And there's our add, and there's our add. And so, hey, this should work great. So let me close that one down, come in here. A generate is bound to it, and I'm pressing it there.
Add the thing.
It's not doing anything.
You promised me a new thing.
You told me it would do something. We got a broken example here. Okay, everybody. What did we not do? Anybody shout it out? Because everybody makes this mistake and they wonder why their app does nothing. Thank you. That's the answer. Yes, even though we don't really want anything to come back, we got to at least subscribe to it to execute it. And yes, you can have a subscribe method that doesn't have any callbacks in it. It just works just great.
Yeah, it just kicks the thing off.
All right, let's try it again. We come here. We generate
a new observer.
Woo, and we can do more of those.
I want to see that movie like 3 times. Yeah,
and now you can.
Yeah.
But you know, things always go right for me. They go right for you?
Always. I never write bugs in my code. My backends are always up. I never have any problems with my network. So we are done. We can ship this thing.
Well, we might, but I've been a little bit evil here, and I've got a button in here that will mess up our URL.
Okay.
If we just do this,
so
you'll
that
see
the thing doesn't come?
That is probably not the
that
API.
Looks not like the API URL.
That's not the one you're looking for.
It is not the API you're looking for.
So that's killing me. So now when we do this thing, we got nothing, but we can see that we're getting a 404 error behind the scenes. All right?
I can see the error. Wait. I can see the error. So we ship it off and say, hey, open the console.
That's what we should do. We should tell them, just look at the console. That's what we tell users.
I'm okay with that.
I know you are, but I have a higher standard, Xander. So that is why we have this handy-dandy second parameter, the second argument to subscribe, which is the error argument. Okay. Hey, guess what? If this was a then, you have the 2 as well. So this is still
just like a promise.
It's still like a promise in this respect.
But a promise is not the same as an observable.
Okay, so this is working. Now let me go and toggle the bad switch so it's not.
Still not the API.
Oh, we get that.
Beautiful.
Now the user, yeah, he knows.
Beautiful. This is perfect.
You would ship this, right?
Yeah.
I thought
right away.
Because this is like the user knows what to do.
Yeah, he knows. HTTP404. That's obvious, isn't it?
It's obvious. This app is ready to ship.
Failure. Yep.
I don't know.
Can you do better?
I think we might. I think what we would really like to do is have something that looked a little bit like that. A user-friendly message.
Sorry, but I can get moves right now. So the theater is closed or something?
Well, at least you could, yeah, it could be that, but you can try again later, all right?
Oh, okay.
All right.
But how did you get the nice text in?
Well,
show me the code.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to have to look at some code. And what we're going to do in there, we're going to have to change both the service and the component. So let's start with the service. And, you know, we've put off as long as we can learning about operators, but the time has come
we are going to learn
about operators. Yes, it has.
Cool.
So here we are. Did I do the right one?
Simple Films 3?
I think so.
Yeah, that's should
It just looks too easy. That's because I'm in the component.
You should open the,
I should try the service, shouldn't I? Okay, here we go. So here's where we were getting the movie. And now what we do is we have to do this pipe thing. And I'm hoping you guys learned about pipe. You pipe.
You use a pipe to stream anything.
I've been using a pipe for years.
Yeah, me too. It steams smoke. I have pipes in my house that stream water.
I'm from San Francisco, dude. I go back. So we break out the old pipe, and we stuff it full of operators from RXJS. Cool. Like the catch error one.
So you throw something and it catches the error.
It catches that error, and it lets you know in the console that things didn't work out so well. But what we're going to do is we're going to create that friendlier message, right? And then we're going to throw that error again with another operator. We're going to return what's
Looks simple enough.
It's an error observable that passes this message nice and simply back up. And now I'll keep this open. I'm going to do Simple Films 3. The component. And now in our callback and the subscribe, if things are bad, we get a nice string error message that we can put in there, and that's how we get a nice error.
This code isn't different from the previous one.
It's not that much different, but there is something different here, and it's pretty important, and it might be easier to see. If I went into Simple Films 2 and put this a little bit side by side, so let me give that a try. So that's 2 there, this is 3 here, and you may notice that before we had to fish the results out of that data package.
We shouldn't be doing that in a component, should we?
No, the component wants films, it shouldn't know about anything else.
I agree.
The reason we use services is, rather than have the component do HTTP, is so we can push the work down into a service. That's why the pattern works. So we shouldn't be bubbling up some details about how it actually goes. So while we're in here catching the error, we're going to use the map, another operator. This is one of the ones I know you're going to know, or you already know. And we're going to extract the results, which is the films.
This does the same thing as the array map does.
Exactly. And now, when we look at the components, it's getting something that's reasonable for it to play with.
Yeah,
so we've given it a developer-friendly result, and we've given it a user-friendly error message.
I still think there is a shitload of code. Can we do that here? Can we clean this up a little bit?
You think we can?
I suspect.
Right. I forget what kind of load that was, Xander, but I'm going to let that go.
Oh, okay. Sorry, but movies cannot be found right now.
And just because I don't know what state we're in, we're going to redo it. So we're going to use
Simple Films.
this guy, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're going?
That's where I'm going.
That's async pipe?
That's
still
async.
piping. I'm liking it. So let's go in there, and that's the service hasn't changed.
No, the service is exactly the same. There is no
Service
change in
is
the
exactly
service.
the same, but ooh, there's something funny in here. There's that films with $1 on it, and there's this async pipe thing.
Those films are making big bucks.
Ooh, that doesn't look like an array of films anymore, or movies. That's an array of an observable movie. My head's starting to explode, but I'm going with you.
I like it. But what's up with the dollar thing?
Well, that's our convention for saying it's an observable.
Oh, cool.
All right?
So I can leave that off? Because that's an extra thing to type.
So you notice, though, the key thing to notice here is that we are no longer subscribing to get films. Now we're just taking that observable and chucking it into the template, actually. We're binding to this films dollar, and we're letting the films dollar pass through the async pipe. So the async pipe is going to do what we did manually. It's going to subscribe.
And I don't have to shove anything in a temporary variable anymore.
Yeah, that's
this is so much cleaner.
It is cleaner. We did a little bit of extra stuff, though, in there because, you know, one of the things is that this only shows the happy path. But we knew we wanted to display a user-friendly error. But we no longer are subscribing, so we can't do it in a subscribe callback. So we use our friend, the pipe and the catch error again. Woo. There he is. We're piping it through, and we can use catch error again to set.
I like what you're doing with the screen. That
like
reminds me on the 80s. I had this vision thing
good.
going on regularly then.
You know, if we lose them, we could just do this, and they're gonna. Thank you. Okay, so we've done that, and now I believe
we're cool again.
We have gone through the simple films where we have learned. So. We've learned that HTTP client is an API that is observable. We learned to subscribe to execute. We've learned about piping operators. We've learned that map will help you transform one value or a bag of something into what it is that you actually want.
And I think we were a little bit ahead.
Are we a little bit ahead?
Yeah, we did the catch error.
Yeah, we did the catch error.
Yeah.
We're cool.
We're cool.
All right, so like Laverne, we are swinging. We're swinging with simple films, and this, for a lot of you, should be familiar territory, but we wanted to go through it.
Yeah, we wanted to go over the basics once more.
Oh, yeah, we used
we are going to do some more basic stuff, and then we go to the fun stuff. So, hurry up!
All right, here's the fonts. We're going to talk about Wikipedia and error isolation. Let's do it. So here's Wikipedia. It's a search for Wikipedia. We could type in...
I like your form. That's an amazing form.
Yeah, it is amazing. So I was typing there, you know, and now, you notice how I wait a long time, and then it does the lists, and there's Angular.
That must be reactive, because you're typing and it's reacting.
It is reacting.
So that's cool.
And there's another thing, like, do you spell Angular with an R? I don't think so. No, maybe you do. No,
Angular?
I don't think so. Maybe you do. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, I don't know.
I think it's with 3 R's. Angular.
Notice the list didn't update? The list didn't change.
No, of course
All
not.
right. So
I programmed this thing, so it's...
all right, I'm glad you know why. Let's see if we can show them how this works. Okay, so let's go into the Wikipedia.
Do you know what AP requests cost these days? They're pretty
you're killing
expensive.
me. You're killing me. So this is our third API. It's Reactive Forms. You may have heard of it. What you are probably used to seeing in a reactive form, if you know it, is that you would have expected to see a form in here. But there's no form to be seen. No form to be found. All right? That's because we're using...
That's not the form we are looking for.
That's right. By using the Reactive Forms module, we get to do this. We get to put this attribute, this directive on there called form control. And basically we say that this input box is under the form control of something called search term. And if we're lucky, there is a search term to bind to that is a new form control.
That's a really minimal form, I think.
I think that's a minimal form. Yeah. And one of the cool things about search term, the form, the control, is that it has a value changes property. And yes, you folks out there guessed it, that is an observable. Whoa, come back.
What the? This is too many stages. Do it slower.
It's slow. I'll do it slower. Come on, be nice. Observable. Okay, so it's an observable. Well, now that it's an observable, it's fair game to start playing with it. And so what do you do with an observable?
You subscribe to it.
You could.
Oh, we can do other things too. Yeah.
But you know me and pipes. I'm big on pipes, so I'm piping
So
it.
we're going to stream it somewhere.
We're going to take those results, and the first thing we're going to do is tap. Now that's a new one. What's that one, Xander?
I think that's a side effect.
Well, it's something that gives us a side effect. You may wonder where the word tap comes from, because in a previous life there was something called do. Well, think wiretap.
I thought it was just a tap on the pipe, so
Oh,
you can hold on the stream.
Oh, it could have been. Here I am thinking wiretapping, because, you know, who doesn't want to wiretap the pipe? I do. So it's legal, though. This one's legal. And so if there was an error message, as soon as they type any key, we want to clear it up.
Yeah, you want to clear out the old errors. If they go searching for something new, you need to clear your things.
But we can throw another operator in the mix, and this is the bounce time, and this is the one that waits for them to stop typing. All right? So you can just type your little heart out but it's not going to do anything until 1 second passes. So once 1 second has passed...
Wait. Those two, they are not doing anything to my observable, are they?
No, the observable is not... What's
but going through.
An operator takes an observable in, puts an observable out.
Yeah.
And each one is creating a new observable and handing it out. And so we're just
changing them along.
Changing it along. So anyway, after 1 second, then we said, remember when I can't remember how to spell Angular. Does it have an R? Does it not have an R? Does it have an R? Does it not? I went back and forth like that. And I ended up on exactly the same search term I started on. All right? Distinct until change says, hey, buddy, I looked at the previous value. I'm looking at the current value. You didn't really do anything. I'm not sending that through.
Squat.
So only if a second goes by and I've actually changed something do we get to the dreaded switch map. My understanding is that many of you now know what switch map is. So we don't have to explain that one.
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we do that and we catch the error. And then we run through another map once we get something back there that just makes it prettier, and we're done. So the key lesson here in this thing is really that, sorry, and I'm going to settle down, is that you can create a form control, and it has a value changes. This is the third API, and I have something that would let Vanzi tell it to you. All right, we have Reactive Forms. The API is observable. You can watch the value changes, and you can pipe many operators in to transform it, and you can use switch map for the win.
This is a legal use for the switch map because you want to cancel out the previous results.
Exactly. What else did we do in here that was interesting? I know. We want to teach them about an easy error to make, and this is why we're going to go to another example called error isolation. Watch, my fingers won't leave my hands. Watch this.
I want to see one. I don't know where
you want to see film ID 1? Ta-da, A New Hope.
A New Hope. Okay, do 3 for me.
Do 3. Phantom
Cool.
Menace.
And now do 4 for me.
Okay, I'm going to do 4.
Oh, movie not found.
Oh.
That's not the movie we're looking for.
That's not the movie we're looking for. Okay,
Oh, crap.
you meant 4. Okay, I'm going back to 4. Wait a minute.
Oh, wait. What's happening there?
Well, I don't know. It looks like one of them's working and one of them isn't. If I go back, nothing. It's still saying movie not found. It doesn't. It seems like no matter what I do, that first one is not changing.
It looks like it's complete or something.
It's done. It's cooked.
Done. It's completely complete and done and over it.
So we got to find out what's going on under there. So let's do some little error isolation here. So this is kind of like where we were with Wikipedia. There's our value changes. We're doing a little debouncing.
Yeah.
Everybody with me? We're just getting those film numbers, the IDs, boop, 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 boop. And this is just like, go get it. Yes, you shouldn't put an HTTP call inside your
That should
component.
be in a service, but we were short on time. I don't know why.
But there's a right way and a wrong way to consume that. Here's the wrong way that many of us do. So we're listening to our films, IDs, and then we do the old switch map.
Yeah, it still looks good to me.
And then look at this. At the same level of pipe, I map the error. I map the results. Everything's going great. It worked. Remember, it worked for a while? But the minute I did something wrong, I caught it with a catch error, and I made it happy, right?
So the error is catched. I still don't see the problem.
So why did it die? Why did it die? Because there's a rule. In RxJS, there are a few rules, and one of the rules is if an error occurs, the upstream is dead.
Everything
terminated.
Above is gone.
It's gone. So even though we caught it and made it nice, the error still happened. And what is upstream of this? Switch map is upstream, film IDs is upstream, get movies is all the way back. It is no longer listening to our keystrokes. This is a very hard error to detect. You just sit there, you think everything's great, and suddenly it stops working, and you don't know why it's not starting again.
So the catch error doesn't unsubscribe on everything that's above?
Exactly.
Oh.
You're toast.
Actually, that's very useful.
Well, it might be useful, but that's not what we want. What we want, what we clearly intended, was that if we got an error, we caught it and then said, keep living. And the way you do that is you say, no, I don't want to immediately after the switch map start doing stuff. I got to go down a level. I got to create another pipe, an isolation level. So I pipe in, I do my map and my catch error here.
This actually makes a lot of sense because you are piping on the get movies.
Really?
Yeah, you're piping.
You think it makes sense? How many people here think that makes sense? Oh, good. You notice my hands down. All right? I mean,
think it makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's not for humans. But it's the way it is. All right? So you just got to know when you get an error and then everything stops working, and it shouldn't. Think back to this moment and say, error isolation. Because that's what we're doing. We're isolating it here. When this observable dies, it dies in an isolation sandbox where nobody can see it.
See, logic.
Yeah, logic. And out of it comes a good value. So the switch map never saw the bad value. And therefore, the film IDs never saw the bad. Nobody ever saw a bad value. Nobody ever saw it go wrong. It keeps on rolling. And that is why, even though we're in an error state here, and so the top will never work, we're doing fine down below. And I can even go for 404 again. Now it's that, no problem, because we're isolating the error each time it occurs. All right? So remember this one. You'll remember it when you wonder why your app has stopped working. Okay, so Fawn says, oops, remember to isolate errors. What about that router thing?
We should do the routing thing.
We should do a router.
Yeah, we should do the routing thing now.
The router is the fourth and final of the Angular APIs that does stuff with observable. And this is
again,
beautiful.
flawless movies, beautiful.
Can we give him some applause for his CSS skills? Yeah.
What a beautiful UI.
Yeah. So this has a next and previous button, as you can tell. I'm going to, not let you see that for a moment. So we go next, and we come to the end, and then it goes there. Well, we're not there yet. 7, and then it goes to no movie, and then it wraps around again. Okay? Previous.
Yeah, you can
You can't go back previous. It stops you. All right, so it's not the greatest UI in the world, but you get the idea. What's happening is, and one of the key things is I want you to look up, and I don't mean straight at the ceiling. I want you to look at the address bar up here. See that movies too? We're using the router, so when I click next, it's actually using the router to move these things along. See 3 to 4, 5.
If we refresh the thing, we should end up on the same movie?
Well, I don't know. We could try.
Shall we try?
How about that?
It works.
It works. All right, so we're using the router, but we're not really going anywhere. We're kind of living in the same component and just doing this. All right? So that's what is that? There used to be or hula? We're doing a hula.
The hula hoop, yeah.
We're doing the hula.
I bet that's from before the 80s, I think. That's from your yurt.
Thank you so much. My era. So I believe this is it. So here's the deal. When it starts, we're going to listen to two things. We're going to listen to route parameters, and we're going to listen to router events. It's two stories. Let's start with the story we've been talking about, which is the router parameters. You get, by the way, in the constructor, you get an activated route. Activated route is it tells you what's going on with the route you're on.
So that's like a snapshot thing?
No, it's not a snapshot. Be very careful about that. But it is an object that lets you examine in an observable way the route that you currently are on. And one of its magnificent properties is parammap, which tells you about the parameters that are in the route to you. And that is observable. It's an observable of parameters. It's kind of a bag of stuff. So naturally, we put it in the pipe, and we do the map, transform it, and we say, params, get me the ID. That's cool. We pass the ID to switch map, right? See?
Why switch map?
Well, because we don't care, right?
Yeah, we have something to cancel.
Right. Again, it's safe for us to use switch map because we're willing to discard the previous result.
If you are clicking very, very fast.
Right, like as I click, do I care how long? I'm interested in the latest one, not the earlier one, so it's good.
And you will end up on 1.
Yeah, so there you go. In other respects, this is just like any other observable, but it's sitting in the router.
It's just like the forms thing and just like every other thing we saw.
All right, but there was something else that we were doing in here. So this is where I bring it back. And you watch as I go next, like a whole bunch of stuff happened over here. All right, like I got events.
Busy little guy, that router thing.
I got events. I got a lot of events. Why? Because one of the things you may want to do is you may want to watch the router at work, right? Because it's often the case that you want to, when the router does something, you want to respond. And so they conveniently put an observable that tells you every time the router does anything interesting, which is why we get a flood of these things out. And they only have one of these, and it's events, and it's called observable. But as you can see, that every one of these is typed in some fashion.
There are a lot of them. Activation start.
Activate started, da-da-da-da. Most of the time, you can tell when your guards are here. By the way, this is a great way to diagnose programmatically what your router is doing to you.
You can use the notify on the options there.
All kinds of things.
But
what we want to show you is that it's as easy as get the router, listen to its events, subscribe, and here we're just logging it. All right? Of course, you may have noticed that this time out of the subscribe, I caught the result as router event subscription.
Why are you catching the result there?
Who even knew that there was a result?
I didn't know.
All right.
I never needed what.
Apparently, there's something to learn here.
Oh, okay.
The thing you learn to is that when you subscribe to something that lives longer than you do, and let's remember, does this actually live longer? I gotta go. I'll go back to here, and then I'll go back into the router. Okay, that created a brand new instance of the router component. The router component was destroyed, right?
Yeah, we took the router out, and we put it back in.
Right, so clearly the router component, the router itself lives longer than that component.
Yeah.
If I didn't unsubscribe, something bad's going to happen. But you know, this is a terrible way to explore what can bad happen. So let's just take advantage of what we know.
Yeah, okay.
The router is an API. Router per app can change. We can monitor route events. And we somehow unsubscribe. We're not sure why, but we're getting an inkling. So, Laszlatka here, what's this memory leaks thing? Because that's what we're worried about.
I leak a lot of memory. Yeah, sorry.
You got a leak?
I'm like a goldfish.
I
have a 3-second memory, and after that, it's gone.
That's what I've always said about you.
Yeah, I know.
So let's clear the decks here. And we have a handy-dandy memory leak example.
Oh, that sounds like, click it like a bunch of times.
I'm going to click it first. So notice the time is going. Hey, this is normal, right?
Yeah,
Well, let me click it off.
What is going on here?
It's still running. I killed it.
It should go.
Oh, let's do it a couple more times, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do that. We're having fun with memory leak. Oh, that's exactly what we wanted. All right.
There are a shitload of different ones also.
Hush your mouth, child. What? Come on, you gotta. we're gonna. He's Dutch. Please forgive him. Okay. So, fortunate.
Oh, I forgot my warning label.
Yeah, that's it. Just somebody called TSA. All right. All right. So clearly, we don't want to have this happen because over time, what's happening is the component is being retained because there's still or not the component necessarily, but there's some parts of it are being retained. It's not being garbage collected, and it's continuing to chew up memory.
It did stop, so something must be right.
Yeah, so let's do something right about this.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's show you TakeUntil. I'll clear this. All right, so it's doing a timer too, right?
Yeah.
But now when I stop it, let me get, is this the error isolation one? Oh no, that one we want to go away. Okay, here's TakeUntil. It starts up and it stops.
That's better.
Do it again. Start it up.
That's just what my model teach me. Clean after yourself.
Destroyed. You can see it completed. It destroyed. Completed. It destroyed. Start it up again. We're on to the next one. And we've actually numbered the components as they come in so you can see it's a brand new component. All right, that's the behavior you're looking for. When the component is destroyed.
So that's the thing we are looking for?
Yes, that is the droid we're looking for. So what do we do to get that? We're going to look at TakeUntil. And there are 3 steps. The first step is use this thing called a subject. We're working our way through the RXJS here. We're bringing the zoo in, but at least we're bringing it in as we need it, right? Remember we told you, learn it as you need it. Well, here's where we're going to need it.
Okay.
We're getting
can you tell me something more about the subject?
I can, but
that's nice. I want to know about the subject.
Well, what is the subject? The subject is, well, it's the thing that it has a lovely properties. It's a thing that is both an observer and an observable. Now, we know what an observable is. We've been using them all.
We are using them all the time.
What is an observer? Yeah, it's a fancy term. Let me just put it this way, the way you want to use it. It's a way of putting something into the observable. All right? It is both a, because I don't want to get lost in the weeds here, but when you need an observable that you can stuff things into, you probably want a subject. Because it allows you to play both sides of the game. Listen, provide.
Put out.
Provide, listen. All right? So that's why we're going to use it here. We're defining a variable on destroy that is something that we can control that is also an observable. So then we go to step 2, And we create an ng-on-destroy. You know that as the lifecycle event hook that gets fired when the component dies, right? You know that stuff. So what we do in there is we take that subject that we've got and we call next on it, which sends a value. We don't really care about the value, so we didn't give it a value. And so what that means is that as soon as we do that, that subject, which we're calling a notifier, is going to emit something. All right? So we have control. When the thing is destroyed, we can emit something. Doesn't matter what, we can emit something. And now we're ready for step 3. Here's our time service. The time service was the thing that was clicking the time.
Yeah, that's just generating timestamps.
Yep. But we're going to pipe something onto it, and it's our friend here, TakeUntil, this new operator. And TakeUntil is kind of fun. The way it works is, like every operator, it has an observable in and an observable out.
It does the same thing as tap.
In this case, kind of.
Yeah.
At least with tap, I can look at it. But with TakeUntil, I can't look at it at all. It's just going straight through.
Yeah.
But I am providing something here. We know this to be an observable, right? We said it was a subject, and a subject is also an observable. So it's an observable.
So we followed quite consistent. We did not put an S on it.
Beg pardon?
Dollar. We did forget the dollar.
We forgot the dollar.
We forgot the dollar. We are not paid for this one. We forgot the dollar.
All right, so you got me there, buddy. We're going to do live coding. That's it. That's all I can do. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. So this is an observable, and so the text, the TakeUntil is letting values fly through, those timer values, until it emits. And as soon as it emits, it says, whoa, we're done here. And it tells the...
So there is a second observable that's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And at a certain time it says, whoa, 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 stop.
Exactly.
And then it stops.
Well, it does, and here's how it does it.
Okay, tell me.
First, it looks upstream to where it came from and says, I'm unsubscribing.
Okay.
All right, so it unsubscribes from the source. And that, my friends, is why the time interval stops. The timer stops because we unsubscribe, and it's designed to stop when it unsubscribes. So that's how we kill the timer. All right? Then it does something that's really important, which is downstream, for everybody listening to it, namely this thing. It sends a complete. It calls complete on the observable. When you call complete on an observable, it terminates. When an observable terminates, it lets go of any subscribers.
Oh, wait. There is something else that is new. There are like 3 parameters?
Oh, well, yes, subscribe does take 3 parameters. It takes the happy, called the next
path?
channel. That's happy, report the time. It takes the sad or the error channel. And then it has a third one which will let you alert things when they're complete.
That's awesome.
And we actually saw over here when we click TakeUntil, and when I do that, notice there's the complete that came downstream, and then the component was destroyed. Complete came down, then the deployment was destroyed. But the unsubscription happened, and therefore no memory leak. No memory leak. So this pattern, this TakeUntil pattern, is the recommended way to, if your component must subscribe, and it has to subscribe to something that is going to live for a long time, follow these 1, 2, 3s of the TakeUntil, and you'll be sure that to unsubscribe properly when the component dies.
Yeah, this is what the style guide suggests you should do.
Yeah.
There are other ways. There is no wrong way as long as you do it.
Now, you know, Xander, I don't remember doing this TakeUntil in our earlier examples. Why did we not worry about this before? We have an async pipe example. It's ticking away, but when I click stop, let me do it again. I'm going to clear the console. I'm going to do async pipe. There's the timer. Ooh.
I still love those async thingies.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, I love
All right, notice it's destroyed. No memory leak. Start it up again. We're on to the third one. No memory leak. Started it up again. Goes to the fourth one. No memory leak. How can that be?
I know.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
Let's share it with them.
The thing is, I was missing something there.
Well, we're just going to have to miss it because we got to keep this show on the road, man.
Okay, let's go.
Unless you're going to tell me what it was I missed.
Well, actually, the last complete didn't fire. The last
that's
line of the subscribe.
That's true. Notice, let's see what Xander's got in mind
It's
here.
missing the
We're going to do a take until,
stop
and
it.
you notice we had completed and then destroyed. When I do the async pipe, you'll notice that we just get destroyed. No completed. So, first of all, let's show them that we're actually using the async pipe, and let's explain to the kind folks at home what's going on.
Yeah, let's go over that.
By the way, you can see no take until. So one of the nice things about async pipe, when we throw the observable up into the template and say async pipe, you handle it, is yes, it subscribes, but it also automatically unsubscribes when the component is destroyed, so that we don't have to worry about it. That is why we had no take until.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about it because we let async pipe worry about it, which keeps our code cleaner. And this is another reason to safely use async pipe in your components. Now, what Xander is pointing out here is that there's a subtle difference between what TakeUntil does and unsubscribing does. And so I'll try and explain what that is. You remember that TakeUntil, its final act, is to send completed out? That is why we have that's why we saw a completed show up here. Because TakeUntil emits a completed. But unsubscribing alone does not complete anything, it just kills it. Right? It just terminates.
I'm not interested anymore, I don't want nothing to do with you.
That's right. Whereas, so if your code should happen to depend on complete, because you want to do something when the observable completes, you can't just unsubscribe. You'll need something like TakeUntil so you can get notified that it completed. That's the point I think you're making.
That's the point I was trying to make, yeah.
Well, thank you. Everybody here is like, but there you go.
Already?
Already.
Oh.
All right, so let's bring it on
this.
home. We learned to, so our first principle is this: unsubscribe when you're in doubt. If you don't know how the observable behaves, unsubscribe. When you're doing that, and that you know, if you subscribe, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You can use the TakeUntil pattern. This is the one we're recommending for a component for unsubscribing rather than literally unsubscribing. Right? So when you don't know what the observable does and you're in a component and you're subscribing to it, use the TakeUntil pattern to close it down so you don't have a memory leak.
I want to dig in a little bit on the doubt. A little bit on the doubt.
Who can stop you?
Okay. The thing is, when are you in doubt? Basically, if you're not creating the thing yourself, if you get an observable from a service, you don't know if it's closing, opening, unsubscribing. You have no idea. It can do anything. So then you're in doubt and you need to unsubscribe to it. Use the TakeUntil for that or any other method.
Many of my customers just want their developers to assume that they are always in doubt. So because it just makes for fewer bugs, right? So they just say, I don't trust myself, I don't trust you, that you really know, or that somebody won't come along and change the behavior later on you because you knew at the time, but it changed later. So they have a policy that says if you subscribe, you must unsubscribe. And if you are going to unsubscribe, use the TakeUntil. It never hurts to unsubscribe. Now, async pipe takes care of itself, and there was no subscribe in our code, so we know we're cool. We're always cool with async pipe.
Yeah, you don't need to unsubscribe them. Async pipe takes care of everything.
Do you know there's actually a chance we could get through this? Okay.
We can too. Let's
Here,
go.
all right. So
let's go multi-stream.
We're going to do the Miami Vice
cool
thing. I wish I had the white suit. I'm going to get one of these. If any of you want to send me a white suit, I'm happy to
I wanted to get some for this day, basically, but they're hard to find. They're probably all stained.
So let's see what the multi-stream does, shall we?
Yeah.
One of the real values of RxJS, where it really begins to shine, is when you have a whole bunch of streams all going on.
I think you need to zoom out a little bit.
You need to zoom out a little?
We are missing a little bit more. Yeah, we're good now.
So when you have a whole bunch of streams and you want to somehow unify them, bring them together, right? This is one of the cool things about RxJS, and the things that's hard with other ways of managing events, because you've got if you have to coordinate events all over the place, it's hard. And RxJS makes it comparatively easy. So we've got an example here that does that. What it does is it gets the films from the cloud. It allows us to add movies here. So there's Bob.
A new observable.
Built, released in 1900.
Yeah.
And but not only does it show Bob here, but it asks behind the scenes, it put it in local storage. So if I close this down and bring it back, Bob is still there.
Even if you refresh the page,
Yeah,
it still will be there.
And then I can do Carol and Ted and Alice, which I think was in the 80s. All right. All right. So now I've got 3 sources of movies. I've got the ones I'm typing, the ones that came from local storage, and the ones that came from the cloud. And I want to meld those all together. How am I going to do that using observables?
You are going to compose them.
We are going to compose them. Let's do that, shall we? So let's close this down, and we're going to go to
multi-service.
And I think it's the service that we're really
the service.
interested in.
The other thing is not interesting.
Okay, so let's see those sources. First of all, here's cloud movies. We've been doing it. We go out to Star Wars World, and we get our cloud movies, and there's nothing dramatic here. That's a stream we know, a cloud movie stream.
That's the stream.
I am shocked that you didn't put the dollar on the end there, but I'm going to let that go. And then here we are in the local storage. Now, local storage is a synchronous API in the browser. It's not observable at all. It's not even event-based. How do I make?
How do we get local storage in an observable?
How do I make it play? Well, it turns out you can roll your own observable. You don't have to wait for Ben to do it. So there's a thing called observable.
I was already going on Twitter to Ben and hey, Ben.
Yeah, you want a local storage.
Yeah, I want a local storage observable.
Well, tough luck, buddy. You're going to have to write it yourself.
Oh, it looks like I already did that.
It does, doesn't it? So here we're creating an observable, which, by the way, you can do new observable. It's the same. And you're going to get this thing called an observer. An observer is nothing more than the thing that we're using for subscribe, right? It has a next, an error, and a complete, some combination thereof. Who cares? It's the thing we would do in subscribe. But for technical reasons, it's called an observer. And we say if the browser supports local storage, then we can get the item out of local storage, deserialize it, and pump it into this observer that we've got here that came in. Remember, again, to make it clear, if you had remember when we have the subscribe and we have the next and the error and the complete. So we know an observer has those methods because that's the way it works. So every time we get something out of local storage, we can call next, and we're essentially pushing those values.
What is this thing with the dashes and the brackets? What's going on
Well,
there?
what if we didn't have anything in storage?
Oh,
right?
you're ORing empty array.
Like, suppose local storage is empty.
Yeah, that might happen.
Well, we'll send an empty array down.
That's a good idea.
Okay. And then, oh, look at this. We know this completes because we said so. All right? You complete. And so what we have here is kind of like HTTP. It's kind of like rolling HTTP GET for isolated storage, for local browser storage. All right? We just made our own.
That's awesome.
You can make your own. So now we got 2 streams, right? Cloud.
We have cloud, we have the local storage.
And now we create our third one. We saw the subject a minute ago. We know about that. So as the new movies come in, they're probably going to come in through this add movie thing, where they're going to come in and we're going to call this thing. So, so they're coming in, and we're going to pipe that observable through something. And this is how we're going to learn a new operator here. Scan. Basically what happens is you've got new movies coming in. We want to build up an array during the session of the movies you enter. All right? So the first time we put a new movie in, all right, well, we did Carol and Ted and Alice. We're doing a lot of those. We'll do Sally, we'll do Jim. Okay, every time I do this, right, a new movie is being pumped.
It's pressed in, yeah.
Huh?
It's streaming into the service.
Yeah, we're pumping a new one in.
Yep.
Well, what we want to do is accumulate those, right? in an array that gets longer and longer and longer as that observable keeps sending values in, new ones, all right? And that's what we're going to use scan for. Scan is an accumulator. It starts with an empty array called movies, and then every time you get a new movie in, this, by the way, is just straight array stuff. It's going to add the new movies to the array. So what's going to happen? Every time I type something, scan is just going to keep building up that array for me. All right? So this is cool. We've got 3 streams, one from the cloud. We've rolled our own observer of the local storage, and we are using scan to build up an array of new movies that the user is typing right now. Now we got to bring them all together.
Yeah, how do we bring them all together? By the way, what's the start with thing?
Oh, I wanted to make sure that it starts with an empty array.
Oh, that's
when
cool.
it has nothing, which is kind of like what we did earlier when we did this, right? All right, so I've got 3 streams. Now what I want to do is I want to take those 3 streams and I want to pull them together and merge them all together, right? So I have one stream of all the movies. Well, we got cloud movies, that's cool. We got local storage movies, that's cool. We got new movies.
That's cool.
All 3 are cool. These things finish, but new movies is always changing, right?
Yeah, that keeps
Every
on
time I
new
type,
things.
I get a new array with the new movie in it, because that's what the scan did. So this has got to stay alive. So what I do is we're using something called combine latest. And what combine latest says is, that's great. I got these 3 things coming in. I'm going to take the latest value of all 3. Does that mean?
Are you doing that again?
I did it again. I'm going to take the latest value of all 3. If any one of them changes, all right, I update that one and then I put them together again. If the first one had changed, I put them together again. Whichever one changes, I'm going to take that latest value, combine them all together. And that is what you see right here. If cloud changes or local changes or new movies changes, put them all in the same
create a new array out of them. Don't you love the new JavaScript syntax? This is amazing to read.
I thought we did something. We made this sort better. Why did we do that?
Yeah, but go back up.
Why do we have a sort? Anyway, we sorted it. Okay, so that, and we're out of time. We can't show the last one. So for our final, yes, thank you very much. For our final Giant Johnson moment, you learned about that. You learned about observable. You learned about scan. You didn't learn about this guy. So fortunately,
expanding people. I'm glad we are not talking about expanding people.
Fortunately, we will have these resources, and this sample is yours to play with, because we know it was a lot. And
we will add even more online. On GitHub, there will be like 15 or 16 different examples.
And the RXJS love boat has left the building. Thank you very much.